I feel very fortunate to go from someone who loved taking in all forms of art to being able to like produce stuff that people really care about. And I'm hoping that more people who feel inspired by that take the initiative to go and kick ass themselves.
This is Ryan Colt Levy, a man with a passion for storytelling who's best known for playing Denji in Chainsaw Man. And with the Chainsaw Man Reze Arc movie out now, his performance is hitting fans in a whole new way. Ryan's voice captures everything that makes this story special. The humor, the chaos, but also the fragile humanity that makes Denji one of anime's most relatable leads. In this conversation, we got to talk about what it took to return to Denji's headspace for the film, how Ryan is able to stay creative without burning out, and also the surprising connection between music and voice acting. This is Behind the Mic with Ryan Colt Levy. Ryan, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And may I also just say congratulations on your wonderful performance that you've given in the Reze Arc film.
Thank you. That really means a lot. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. It's cool getting to finally, after so many years. Oh, as I throw my microphone, hold on. Good start. Thunderous, aggressive. Yeah. That's how it feels after 3 years of waiting, is just explosive. After the first season, we sat for so long, with not being able to talk about where it goes, regardless of the fact that we didn't even know if we were getting the movie for a while anyway, But then once the announcement happened and once, everybody knew it was going to be there were still so many people who've only seen the show. And so, we get to travel around and talk to people and do panels and all this stuff, and we have had to kind of stick to the same talking points to some degree, or just be very vague with people. And so now we're finally at this point where I can talk about more of the story and what I love so much about it, and it's a pleasure to be able to actually get to finally geek out,
Oh yeah, and I was definitely geeking out when I saw it as well.
Oh hell yeah.
I re-binged the first series a week before I saw it just to make sure I was brushed up on everything.
Oh really? Stellar. Had you read any of the manga, or did you strictly see the show?
I try to avoid the manga if it's a show that has a lot of hype behind it, because I did start watching it after I saw a lot of people talking about how great it was, and when I typically start that late, I try to avoid the manga. Unless if I started reading it beforehand, but unless if there's something I need desperately answered, I will quickly just try and find something within the manga to basically calm my nerves. Most of the time, it's oh my god, I'm so anxious about this. I need to know what happens immediately.
Right.
So yeah, there have been some spoilers that I was aware of before I saw the Reze Arc film.
The internet is a brutal place.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely is. I have a friend who shuts off his mind to all trailers and anything promotional for the movie. I'm
so impressed by that. I've done that a few times, and it's always been my favorite experience of seeing a movie. I try to make it more of a practice, but I don't always succeed. But I love, if it's a good filmmaker or writer, someone involved that I tend to trust their taste, I usually feel like I could go in blind and it's almost going to benefit me more because you don't have an expectancy of a certain moment or a beat or whatever, but yeah, even it's funny, even with this movie, I watched every trailer that was coming out before we got to work on it, obviously, because I'm oh my god, finally I get to see what they're doing. But it still did not prepare me for when we were recording it, how wild, now that you've seen it, I was seeing all that stuff just for the first time while in my sessions recording it, trying to be a professional and also process that stuff in real time, so yeah. It was wild.
No, of course, because Chainsaw Man has absolutely blown up, pun intended, of course, with the Reze Arc out in cinemas now. How would you say it felt returning to Denji's headspace for the film compared to the original series?
Really, I've been waiting for so long to do this part because I always felt when I read it, this was such a special, deeply layered, sad, romantic, unique element of the story and of Denji's character. And I think as someone who has read further, there's so many things I obviously won't get into, but there's so many things that go down from here on out. And I think the story kind of keeps like shifting and taking new forms, which is part of what I love about it. But this arc is so crucial in Denji's development. I knew the fight was going to be amazing. I knew, I didn't know it was going to be that extent. You have to imagine, you read the panel where he's riding Beam for the first time, and you're like, well, that's going to be incredible whenever that's animated, But
yeah,
to me, my favorite parts were the quiet parts. It's the whole first act of the movie that to me is like some of my favorite. In the very end, where it's so tragic and romantic and innocent and so many things. It's really complicated, but I knew that the first season left a certain amount of people with a specific impression of Denji that I didn't think was wholly accurate, but also like they only had the context of the first season. And I think if you see the nuance in it, there are signs, and there's obviously, his lack of education and affection and all that, but it's much more clear that he's really in so many ways innocent while not being an innocent, like he's so innocent in so many ways. In his soul, he's still just a lost little boy who just wants love. And like, I think a lot of people resonate with just the layers of this kind of storytelling, of finding someone that you feel like sees you, and heartbreak and very normal, real, deep human feelings that I think are so relatable. And seeing someone like Denji go through it all in real time for the first time is like very, very special.
Yeah, because Reze Arc is an incredibly emotional film when you're not like viewing the actual chaos of all these amazing fight scenes.
Well, and they build up to it, right? It's like they make you wait for it and they earn it, and I don't think I've heard anybody be like, oh yeah, I was real bored in the beginning until the fight. Like I feel like a lot of people are like, they're forgetting what it is, like that they even walked into,
Yeah, no, because there was a lot of build up between season 1 and this film that everyone was just waiting to see what was going to happen next if they hadn't read the manga, or if they had, they couldn't wait for it to be actually shown.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people, and I wasn't ready when I walked out of that theater. I'm like, and to this day, not really spoiler related, but the music score is incredible, and there's one song in particular that has been making the rounds on social media, like it's like over like lots of motivational stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
In the pool. Yeah. And I cannot listen to that song because I need to swipe up, because I will then start to get very emotional, because what happens with Denji in this film has really resonated with me and a lot of fans, and it makes us just feel so much and helps us notice that he's a good mix of chaos, vulnerability, and heart. What's one scene or line from Denji that shocked you, pushed you, or made you rethink how you voice him?
Oh, that's a great question. It's funny because I'm such a big fan of the manga, and I came into this as a big fan. I've done so much between reading it so many times and reading other people's takes on things, and like I've done so much homework on Denji that I already, to some degree, feel like I had a really strong take on him. But I think what I loved about, specifically, like, that pool scene's a great example. Like when I first saw it, I knew what the scene was in the manga, but I didn't know how they were gonna adapt it. And I love that the instinct was to make it tender and innocent and beautiful, and there's nothing sexual about it. There's no, like, it is so pure, and yet there's so many other layers to it, within that. But the thing that I love about Denji that I think it reinforced in me in that scene was like truly how much he does not have the faculties to like really express not only what he wants but what he needs and what he thinks is okay to ask of other people. And the way that like when she's calling to him to get into the water, and he at first you see him go through his like mental kind of montage of like, don't do this is dumb, like blah blah blah, and then like it cuts, and that's like a big laugh. But also right after that, to me, what's like one of the saddest and most like lovely parts is then he's just standing there super vulnerable, and she jumps in and she kind of like keeps like egging him on, and he's just like bunching up into a ball, trying to just like keep it together and like not like you can see that he doesn't know how to express into words what to do or what to ask for, or what to say, or how comfortable he is or isn't. And this scream that he has before he jumps in the pool, I love that moment because it reminded me that like there's a part of him that's just like, even outside of Chainsaw Man, that's just in Denji, where he's just like, I need to dive into the experience regardless because I just need to know. And something that I love about where it kind of all comes together in the end is that Denji still sees the best in people regardless of what he's already been through with them. We're so quick to judge people and to, go through an experience with someone or a relationship with someone or whatever, and we're so quick to like sever things or make ourselves closed off to the person or only see their negative attributes after that or whatever, and he only sees the positive. And I think that's like a really beautiful, beautiful thing. And I that's something that I like really held on to.
So would you say that Denji is probably your favorite character that you voiced?
For sure. I mean, it's like for like a layer of reasons, not to say that there aren't other ones that I love or have loved to play, but I just have a weirdly personal connection with how I found the story and how the story is told and the kind of tone and style and flavor. Like, this is just something that has always been, it always would have been something for me, so to get to do it and play my favorite character in my favorite modern story, and for people to care about it so much and see it in the same way, it's like, it's really trippy, like, I didn't invent this. I just get to be part of the ride, and I'm just lucky.
Denji has like created a awareness of maybe how we see relationships and how we view other people. Sometimes we're not fully aware of who we are or who we're with. It's a good way for fans to resonate with Denji, is to show these moments in the manga and have them adapted into a nice visual spectacle with such an amazing score.
Yeah, I think they really like, everybody who worked on this, from the music, the art, everybody, on every side of the globe doing the performances, everyone's involvement is so layered with passion and like understanding. And I think that's what's so exciting about being a part of this adaptation, is that it's like they're really getting the tone and they really get what I think Fujimoto is trying to say in the manga. And it's rare to get to, have this kind of royal treatment across the board. And it's like, it's a really privileged thing to get to work on, because it is so beautiful. Like, the music is one of my favorite parts,
You've been a part of many projects, My Hero Academia, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Solo Leveling, Genshin Impact. All of these properties have passionate supporters and loyal fans. Have you noticed any differences in how those fandoms engage with you compared to Chainsaw Man?
Well, I think every fandom engages with you depending on your role within the thing in the fandom, if that makes sense. So like, you'd mentioned Genshin Impact and Solo Leveling. Like, those are two things that like, they are credits for me, but by all accounts, I barely exist in those properties. Like, every now and then someone at a convention will bring like a poster for like Solo Leveling, because they're just getting every single person that they possibly could on the cast. But as far as like engaging with those fandoms, like, it just doesn't happen because I'm not really in those things.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how like it plays into it, because like My Hero is a great example. Rhodey's the first kind of role that like really had anybody, I guess, pay attention to me, because it was such a different scale than so many things that I had worked on. But also it was unique because he was this movie exclusive character, so there was like, you had to see the movie, you had to, like, there was, layers to it for people to care or not, but the fandom was really embracing of that character. So it was like a really positive thing and has continued to be a really positive thing. I mean, I meet cosplayers and all that stuff, and so many people identify with that character as a comfort character, and it's a really lovely, beautiful fan base, and like they're really sweet to me because that character, I think, for them represents a lot of things that are really positive and reinforcing, and he's sort of, in a weird way, like if Denji, had a loving family and like was smoother and more confident and like understood how the world works, he's a little bit more Aladdin-like almost. There's a charm and like a smoothness to him that, while he's also still wrestling with very normal emotional things. And Moriarty the Patriot's cool because it's more niche, but the people that do engage with it are so passionate. The Sherlock community in general is a very cool community, and I get all kinds of fun interactions with that too. But Chainsaw has been, a totally different kind of experience altogether because people are just so deeply passionate about it, and I'm playing a character that obviously is very important to a lot of people, so I get to share with a lot of people and hear from a lot of people all kinds of things that I don't think normally I would get to engage with if I weren't in this position in this property. People are very generous with their time and energy, and they're so vulnerable and will tell me things that I'm like it means a lot for people to be able to unload stuff on you, because they see Denji obviously also as someone who's gone through a lot, and people really identify with that. So there is a like privilege and a responsibility to being a part of these things, and how, if you are lucky enough to be able to engage with the fandoms, it's so important to like really meet everyone with respect and understand that they're coming at this place from so, being so passionate, and thankfully so am I. So it's easy to do, but yeah, it's a real responsibility, like I don't want people to be disappointed by what I have to bring to the table as, a character that they really care for, so it's trippy, man. It's still, and it's weird because I'm also like, it's just me,
Yeah. No, because your performance is obviously so authentic, and also speaking with you right now, as well as past interviews and past media appearances, you have a level of passion that you bring to this that isn't just, I've looked at who this is, I think I can get into the headspace because I see what he's doing. Because obviously in 2024 you took home the Crunchyroll Anime Award for Best Voice Artist Performance, so like that's obviously no short feat because it's a very competitive category. What did that recognition really mean to you, like personally?
I mean, it's incredibly sweet. It's like, it's a very strange thing. Like, I really didn't think I was gonna, be nominated nor win. I actually, funny, I was sleeping during the actual stream of it because it was, it was late here in Los Angeles. And my mom, who was, she's in New York, which is even, I don't even know what hour she was watching it at, but she was awake. And she was texting me while I was passed out asleep, like, you won. And I'm like, I just didn't think I had a chance. But it's really cool because, I mean, I'm just glad to know that people like what we're doing with the show. I don't look at it and go like, oh yeah, you did a great job, because it's like, I worked with an amazing team. Mike McFarland is just the most extraordinary director and human, and really understood what the show needed and what the direction of the show needed, and how to keep us in the lines of trying to find the tone the right way, and really let me, bring what I thought Denji needed to, the table, and we found this thing together, and, the whole cast is just so special. So I looked at it more like people really just loved the whole show and engaged with it. And I think it's so strange because it's like, even more than, like, the award is really cool. It's a total trip, but like, to me, it's like getting to meet people who are like in the cosplays and who make artwork and just tell me how much they are like passionate about it too. Like, that's like the biggest victory, like, I just love getting to share in the fandom. I more think about it like I get to share it with so many talented people who get to do this. It's like just a cool, weird thing that like I'm like, wow, and now I have this heavy object in my house I can beat up a burglar with. It's nuts or nothing, just swing it under.
Yeah. Especially right now, talking with you, fans talk about how grounded and genuine you are, especially with your performances.
Oh.
How do you keep your creative fire burning without burning out, especially if you're juggling multiple projects or if you're juggling so much?
I mean, man, I've wanted to make stuff my whole life and have that be a career, you know, ever since I was a little kid, whether it was painting, music, acting, making anything, you know. I've worked so many jobs in my life while being in a band, while doing other things, while just trying to make a creative career work. So I have had so many forms of like actual exhaustion, you know, like physical, mental, emotional, you know, and to be so fortunate to be able to do what I love on this kind of scale already, while also it taking a very long time in my life. You know, I didn't end up on, you know, getting to do any of this stuff until I was on the other side of 30, you know. I'm just so grateful, man. I just feel so, even when I'm tired, I'm energized. You know, I've let the last 3 years really be such a whirlwind of focusing on, you know, doing all this work and traveling around and being a part of, you know, this amazing kind of like circus of it all, you know. But also now I'm trying to get back to filling the rest of my cup creatively. I'm getting back to working on music and painting and carving out more time for myself to also just like take in art and life and like being out in the world again, you know, because I really do. I've always felt like I have to have these phases I call the sponge phases, where like I just go and like soak up stuff. And I want to be able to work on things creatively outside of just this particular space as much as it is so fulfilling and fun. And I'm so lucky to get to do it in this capacity.
What are you working on right now that you are most excited for?
Well, I can't talk about anything as far as voiceover stuff because it's all stuck in the pesky NDA phase.
I was hoping you weren't going to say that. I was hoping you were going to tell me everything.
I was going to drop something today. I was like, by the way, I had an announcement. I was just waiting for this interview. Yeah, no, it's, you know, it's like it's the hardest part about, or it can be the hardest part about doing this job, is like when you're really excited about sharing something and it's like stuck to a particular date or time or thing, or you're beholden to some other company has to announce it first, you know, and it is more often than not, you know, we are stuck to that thing, so we can't, you know, in an interview be like, surprise, you know, as much as it would be fun.
Yeah.
And it's funny how like really depending on what you have going on, like for me, I feel like because I'm so lucky to have stuff that I can talk about that's really exciting, it makes it easier to just like, for me, like almost forget about the other stuff. It's like I just kind of have it in the back of my mind because I know eventually I'll get to, and I don't feel like it was really hard with Denji, you know, like it didn't mean I went and splurged it out, but like I just holding on to that information, that was so just like, you know, because like you just like you're talking to people about it, like just other people bringing it up for other reasons, or people are talking about the auditions, and you're like, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's all
like,
you could say. You could just nod your head and say yes.
Yeah, just try and like poker face, and I'm terrible at playing poker, so I'm like, I don't know if this is what you do. It's so dumb.
You mentioned getting back into music. You had an interesting trajectory. You were doing music before, then you end up as an award-winning voice actor in an amazing role. What was that like journey like for you, and what would you say that they share with your passion?
Well, both of them, I mean, it's weird because I mean there's a lot like in the technical aspect, obviously, of singing and doing voiceover, just the working in the same kind of space. You're working in a vocal booth a lot of the time, or just working around a microphone, so you have to understand dynamic and all of those things. Music, especially with something that like dubbing, you know, rhythm and tempo is huge. So like the fact that that's been beaten into my body and my brain for essentially my whole life, you know, it gives me a lot of there's a lot of room to play where I don't have to think about those things because they're just ingrained in me. So like if I'm working on something, I can instinctually lock into a lot of things really quickly, and it gives me room to then play with the, you know, the minutia of it, the creative part.
Yep.
You know, there's something I remember that David Lynch talked about where he would get dressed in the same clothes every day, and the reason he did it was because it, to him, that was one less thing that he had to think about and plan for and prepare for, and it gave him, at least in his way, room to just have that space more for creativity. And like, you know, I loved that idea, and I think in some ways it comes into play. You know, there are obviously some differences too between the two fields, but I think there's a lot of, especially with performing live and band practice and all these things, they're weirdly, like when I'm in a vocal session, you know, I'm working with an engineer and a director, and it feels in a way like you're doing, like you're having a band practice because you're rehearsing, you're doing a part, you might talk about it for a second, someone might have a suggestion, you know, and you're also kind of performing the show at the same time, you know, because you're doing the thing, and then it goes out into the world, and the concert you don't always necessarily get to see, you know. In this case with the movie, I got to go and see my own concert, which is weird, you know, but it was cool to get to see people respond to the thing in real time. But, you know, I think a lot of it is because I also loved acting at such a young age before I even got into music. I always saw performing in bands as being kind of theatrical. So I've always felt like songs should have a story, or at least make you feel like they have a story, you know, and I think that at least the way that I approach it kind of comes from a similar space, you know. It's like a weird nerdy acting brain, and then like all of the dynamic and rhythm and all of that stuff from music that like is just very much a part of it.
Yeah. No, because, and you actually brought up an interesting point that I actually didn't think about before when it comes to dubbing, is to be able to match that rhythm and tone. And even though I've like spoken with lots of dubbing artists, I never really took into consideration how specialized they can be for dubbing.
There's a lot of people in the dubbing industry who definitely are musical. I think it's a very weird mixed bag of like what skills you bring to it at first. But I think one of my favorite things about doing it in general is that if you are comfortable with working to the picture, and you know, like you get to preview a scene, so you get to see not just the tempo of the movement or how, you know, gestural or big or small, but also you get a sense of the body movement. You get a sense of the distance a character might be on. Like you're gonna deliver a line different, you know, like in the movie, if Denji's on the back of a moving car, you know, trying to communicate to someone who's on the back of another moving car on a busy highway in a city, like you're gonna deliver that line real different than him like talking on the beach to her, right?
Yeah,
you know, like there's all these levels of application of like intimacy, of environment, of all of these things that you have to take into consideration on top of physicality, on top of flaps, on top of whatever, you know. But that's all just stuff that you have to think about, I think, whether it's from an acting perspective or even just a like how you watch a movie perspective, you know. Like sometimes it's a stylistic choice, but I always think it's funny when someone's like on the back of a moving train and they're able to like talk quietly to each other, and you're like, you know. There's a great scene in, I don't know if you've ever seen The Social Network.
I have definitely seen that at least 50 times.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm a huge Fincher guy. So like, I love, like he's a perfect example of someone who's like, no, it's got to be this way because this is how it would be. Mm-hmm. Like there's a scene where Timberlake's character is talking to Jesse Eisenberg in a club, in like a nightclub, and they're like shouting at each other, you know, and they're sitting right across from each other, but you have to shout because that music is cranked in there, you know, like other movies would have people being like, you know what, blah, 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 blah. But like, I love that he was like, no, man, like you'd have to be yelling at each other. So it's stuff like that that I think is like, I think about when I'm even just previewing a scene, you know, and sometimes it might be different how they approach it in the Japanese, but we look at it and go, well, okay, but the environment is doing this, this, and this, so like how are we going to do it in our version, you know?
I've also encountered like things like that where it's like supposed to be, oh, they need to be shouting, but they're but they are quiet. And I think that almost ruins the scene to some extent.
It can take you out sometimes. Yeah.
Working in voice acting with video games and anime especially, where do you think voice acting is headed next? How do you see the relationship between performers and fans changing or evolving?
Man, that is a question. I don't know. I mean, I think, we're in a really interesting, weird time where, like, even for me, when I started doing this, I only started professionally, really getting to work in this space in 2019, so I only started even announcing roles. I think it was in 2020 that I even, anybody would start to hear about me, right? So, like, I started to work in this space and in anime and all this stuff. Sorry, the sirens are going off. Guys, I'm here. It's okay. So dramatic. I showed up when so much of the culture was already changing. I got very lucky to be a part of this wave of not just anime exploding and becoming popular and taking over pop culture, but also people paying attention to, the performers in a way that I don't know that it was exactly the same before this. I mean, I know that there was to some degree, but I feel like I got very lucky to show up at a time where there's an attention on this that is very seemingly fresh and unique and palpable, which I don't take lightly, and I also don't let get to my head, because it's a really easy thing, I think, for someone to be a part of a popular thing and go from like loving their job to being like, oh, people adore me, or this thing, or whatever. It's like, it's like a really crazy thing that can happen, I think, to anybody in entertainment, right? But I think that, like, where we're going, I mean, I know that it's also a very unique time because of social media that, growing up for me, if I wanted to, talk to or reach out to or have access to my favorite creative people, actors, directors, writers, like, I didn't have that access, It just wasn't, nobody could just do that,
No.
And now you can. And, that's also a very unique thing. And we're also, a generation that's very much on the internet. So
yeah,
we're way more accessible in a way that is like a very unique way to interact with people who make stuff that you like, or interact with the stuff that you make. So there's a lot of, for good and bad, there's a lot of things that can come of that. I would like to hope that while it gives more spotlight to, this part of the industry and gives more people platforms to, like, do good work and share it with people and give these properties more chances to grow and these fan bases more chances to be respected and legitimized, I also do think that there's, like, a responsibility to not just, like, the performers, but also the companies and casting directors and people hiring these actors to be, like, vetted to some degree, to know that they're healthy.
Sorry, I got way too
like healthy-brained individuals, because I just think, it can get crazy out there when people are just, like, devoted to a thing that you do, so I think you have to find a weird balance with that stuff. But my hope is just that we'll be able to keep making really cool things, and the industry will also be open to more new, unique talent in the way that, like, it welcomed me in. I didn't have to, none of this could have happened easily, so I feel very fortunate to go from someone who loved taking in all forms of art to being able to, like, produce stuff that people really care about. And I'm hoping that more people who feel inspired by that take the initiative to go and, kick ass themselves. And maybe that is, like, the thing that I'm hoping most from having, like, the ability to communicate with so many people immediately. But I don't know where the industry is going to go or what it's going to, that's so beyond me and so out of my control too. And I think more than anything, while I try to be really present and aware and want to do my best to protect whatever, this thing can be, this craft and this industry, I also in my own life in general have been really big on practicing not allowing the things that I have no control over to like consume me or give me anxiety, or, you know, and I try and just focus on the things that I immediately can and try and just facilitate that to like have a resonance throughout, and hopefully people just, it's just ripples of that from different people, you know. But I'm gonna remain optimistic and stay excited, and I think there's just, we're in such a cool time for unique storytelling, and, you know, I'm just hopeful that it's gonna be more cool stuff along the way and people just keep getting to share in the nerdiness.
Yeah, right now lots of people are feeling fatigued with the typical type of storytelling that like big budget productions are putting in, but not getting back because people aren't always as interested. And I think the beauty of anime here is that there is so much unique storytelling, as you put it, that there is a untapped potential, an untapped market that hasn't been fully embraced yet, but is slowly starting to be embraced, because this year alone we're going to be getting 3 anime films, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Demon Slayer. 3 big properties. There's so many animes that you can consume that can instantly say, okay, we'll give this one a theatrical release. There is definitely a potential for dramatic growth still to come. It's not just like, oh, we're starting to plateau. And then
absolutely. I mean, it feels like we're still just getting started in this space. I'm excited more than anything.
Is there a project or collaboration that you want to work on, or is a type of content that you would like to be doing as well?
I mean, I think it's like probably like the weirdest answer for most people, because they're expecting me to like talk about a franchise or a certain thing, but like I'm ready to get back on camera. You know, my love of this all came first from film and, you know, theater and all of that stuff, and I have happily fallen into this really wild, you know, part of the industry, but it is by no means like the only way that I want to express myself doing this. And, you know, I just recently, I mean, there's so many good movies in the last, honestly, like 2-3 years that I feel like have come out across the board, from, you know, The Substance, Strange Darling, Weapons, One Battle After Another, like Sinners, like, I mean, across the board, there's so much good stuff. Lurker, great independent movie, I don't know if you've seen. There's really amazing stuff happening, and every time I see a great film, The Brutalist, you know, like, I have that feeling where it's like, oh, man, I want to be a part of that, you know? So that's what I'm most excited about, like, diving into more and working towards.
There are definitely still great stories to be told in a live action space as well.
It's just harder. It's harder to get them made. It's harder to get audiences to see them. I mean, there's a lot to it that makes it difficult, but I have always just been, it's something I was talking about with a friend recently, where I'm like, I didn't get to, in a weird way, it's like I didn't choose getting to do this. It's like a compulsion, you know? So while there are so many things with the entertainment industry that I may like have problems with, you know, like personally, in my heart, whatever, you know, I also cannot help that it is just where I need to be to feel complete, to make things, to help, you know. That's how I like to express myself and like to, you know, I love when a movie makes me cry or laugh, or, you know, so it's my own damage that I can't help but be a part of it, you know. And so I'm just like, it's like being possessed.
Yeah, it takes something very special for a movie to make people cry. There was, I don't know if you've seen this movie with Josh Brolin, Only the Brave.
Oh yeah. Well, Brolin's just amazing, man.
The performance was amazing, but there is a scene at the end, because it's based on a true story. It doesn't end well for the main characters. It also has this in common with the Reze Arc as well. It's not a happy ending. And that's probably what gets people the most, rather than like, oh, Like there's happy crying and then there's sad crying because things didn't go the way you wanted. There's always like such potential in any visual media to make that happen.
Yeah, I think so much of it is like clarity of vision and your voice and what you're trying to say. I think in the case of this movie, it's like mainlining the manga, you know? I mean, Fujimoto is just, he's such a tremendous storyteller, and his like preciseness in the way that he can kind of like tap into feelings and moments and sensations is really amazing. And I think we're just lucky to be able to be a part of something like that. You know, it's funny talking about Josh Brolin. I saw an interview with him where he talked about doing press for movies that you know are good, because he's like, you know, when you work on something, he's like, you know, once like it's done, like if it's good or not, you know. And he's like, and doing press for movies that are bad, he's like, is really rough. And he's like, you'll notice certain actors will say certain things that is like these stock answers, like we had a lot of fun, you know, like but he's like, when you really like are passionate about something and it's good and you're proud of it, like it's fun to get to promote and share. And like, you know, I'm lucky to work on a lot of stuff that I think is really cool and special, but it's rare to get to work on something that is this special that also gets this kind of attention. So it's lovely to get to be able to like really just share it with so many people.
Starting to wrap this up, we have 5 quickfire questions that we would like to ask you. So basically the way it works is we'll ask the question and then you just say the first thing that comes to mind.
Applesauce. Sorry, what?
First one. If you could voice a scene with any actor or voice actor in the world, who would it be?
Oh. Whoa, that's a good question. Why does my brain always go to dead people when someone asks me this? So morbid. Because I'm so lucky that I've gotten to work with so many cool people already. Wow. You know what? I haven't worked with Ian Sinclair yet, and I adore him. He's one of my best buds, and he's so funny and brilliant, and I would love to do something with him. And he's alive. Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say Denji started to get into your head a little too much there.
Yeah, no, it's so weird because when I think of actors that I love, I'm like Philip Seymour Hoffman. Never mind. You know.
Yep, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I miss him. It's so unfortunate that he's no longer with us. Back onto it. 2. What is your studio snack of choice?
Oh, you know what? Honestly, weirdly enough, I don't eat in the studio. Sometimes they get real ritzy and they have the little tiny pistachio packets. Like if they got one of those, I might steal one of those on the way out. But I actually tend to just like drink water. I'll steal their coffee.
What is the strangest piece of direction that a director has given you?
You know, I've had so many, and there's oftentimes like you'll get it in the booth and you immediately both start laughing because you know what it sounds like out of context, so you just start cracking up. But my favorite one in like recent memory was I got to play this villain in a Ghostbusters video game, and he's like got this giant pumpkin head, so they wanted him to sound like, you know, seeds and like, you know, the rotting and all this stuff in his mouth. So I was like, you know, I was full of saliva and like drooling all over myself. It's really like really gunky and gross. And the note that the director kept giving me was just more wet.
What a brilliant way to put it, I guess. What is a voice acting pet peeve of yours?
I don't know. I don't know that it's specifically a voice acting pet peeve. I think it's a pet peeve of mine for anybody who is like doing anything in a creative space, is like if you just make that your entire personality. I think that's a frustrating thing, because I'm like, people are so unique and mercurial and full of so many things, and quite often I think a lot of people can get really obsessed with just trying to like, it's like a career thing that I think is the peeve for me, where people lose sight of purpose and they just like, you start to put your head down in the sand and stop like being a whole person, because you're like, I'm just this one thing now. And people are just so much more than that. I know it's a weird one to pick, but that's what it is. It's like barely even the right answer, but I'm gonna stick to it and be stubborn.
No, of course it's kind of like the people who like have like a small viral moment that goes big in the world, and then it's just like, oh, that's all they are. They don't like show you who they are fully after that.
Yeah, because it's not all they are, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, allow yourself to be your whole self. You don't have to share everything with everyone, but I'm always really like, especially with other creative people, if it's an author, a painter, a filmmaker, whatever, like I'm always so endeared to their work if I see an interview with them or I read something about them, or it's revealed to me like that they are a multi-dimensional person. I love when you watch like an Ari Aster movie, which is so dark and messed up, and then you see an interview with him and you're like, this guy is charming and funny, and and it changes even how you then interact with the art.
If your mic could talk, what would it say about you after a long recording session?
Dude, you need to get a fan in here.
Does it get hot in like the booth, like when you're working often?
Like very, very quickly, especially in Los Angeles through most of the year. And my booth is it's like made of like moving blanket material, so it's like a really thick material, and I like zip myself up in that, so it just becomes like a box of heat. And if I put on a fan, it's too loud to record. So it's a whole. Yeah, I don't keep a camera on because I'm going to be absolutely soaking wet with sweat through that.
Oh my God.
Recording. So yeah. But it's kind of nice. It's like a sauna.
Yeah, no, there's been times I've been making videos before where I've had to like literally like say the line, then just keep doing that. Oh no.
Yep. I once did a panel at a con in a very, very, very humid climate. And like just like getting from like the place where I was signing to get to the panel, and then it was like under hot lights, and I'm like just like pouring sweat trying to answer questions, not looking like I'm like coming down with a fever, like, and I'm just like, oh yeah, no, we were like working on this thing, and I'm like, it was just absolutely ludicrous.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, my absolute pleasure.
Every answer you gave was so insightful, and it also makes me see dubbing and voice acting in a new way, as all these interviews do. But it was an absolute honor to speak with you. So thank you so much for doing this.
No, thank you, Tanner. I really appreciate it. Dude, you're so kind. This was a blast. Great questions. Like I said, I'm always happy to geek out about this stuff, and especially with really passionate people and a film fan. So, dude, this easily could have been dangerously multiple hours long. If
oh my God, yeah, I keep
coming talking about PTA and all that stuff. We're gonna spend the whole day.
Oh no, yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, it might take like about 45 minutes. It rarely ever takes an hour, but when it does,
I'm a verbose motherfucker. So every time someone's like, want to answer a question, I'm like, here's 2 sentences. It's just my damage. I don't know.
You were absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much. Too kind.
Well, I'm so glad. No, dude, I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Behind the Mic. If you enjoyed the conversation and you want to hear more from the voices behind your favorite characters, then be sure to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube. And don't forget to check out our other interviews, as well as voiceover tips and industry news at Voquent.com or on our social media. See you next time.